To order at 4:04. Roll call.
Mayor Eric Garcia,
Present.
Councilor Zachary Gutierrez.
Present.
Councilor George Garcia,
Present.
Councilor Fred Rodarte,
Present.
Councilor Beverly Michael.
Present.
Thank you. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could get a few items before we approve the agenda tabled, I would like to table 1.17 and 1.13. 1.17 and 1.3.
Excuse me, Mayor, were we also tabling 1.17? Is that what you said?
It's 1.17 and
Okay.
1.3. 1.3, Victor says we don't need that at the moment, and 1.17 was the mining museum lodgers tax.
Thank you.
That said, if I could get a motion, if you guys agree to change that to table?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as is, removing items 1.3 and item 1.17.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call. Councilor Garcia.
Yes.
Councilor Rodarte.
Yes.
Councilor Michael.
Yes.
Councilor Gutierrez.
Yes.
Thank you. The agenda will pass. Anybody out there for discussion of charter compliance? Thank you very much. Citizens to address the council. Mr. Gabaldon.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the flooding that you guys had. I was wondering if there was any help available for, if, you know, because at my trailer, the skirting got all washed out on my trailer, and, I mean, the mud is back there, trees derooted and stuff in my yard. And the whole, on my house next door, it's flooded with dirt. If it gets muddy, you can't even get in there. You could see the difference, like 4 inches of dirt on top of what was already there. And the same at the trailer next door, it's just flooded out. And I'm handicapped, so I can't really do much, you know?
I'll say this to the flood. Give Fran your address, and we'll take a look at it, but as far as any kind of funding that was available for disaster relief, at the state, there's nothing available such as. But as far as
I
we're
don't
trying.
get funding,
Yep.
can you guys get a loader up there?
Yeah,
or
that's why I
something
said, get
just
the
to-
address to Fran, she's the clerk right there, and then we'll hand it off to the manager, and we'll see what we can do as far as water. We're trying to get to a lot of areas throughout the city for the flooding, but Mr. Gabaldon will take a look at it.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you now or later.
Can I get a hard copy of the agenda?
What's this one?
These are just minutes. There it is. Sorry, I found it. I apologize.
Oh, it was for
I had
that.
2 copies of
okay.
minutes and got confused.
Okay.
Thank you.
With the minutes, huh?
It's in between.
Yes.
Okay, we're on 1.1, discussion FY25 public budget hearing comment.
Good afternoon. So we spent a lot of time on putting our fiscal 25 budget together. I printed out a copy of the presentation for everyone, and then I'll broadcast it also. So I'm going to do my presentation a little differently this year. Instead of focusing on the numbers, which we know the numbers are important, I want to talk about the issues that made up the budget and how we developed this year's budget. Our priorities and our challenges for this year were, we have 2 new enterprise funds that are coming up. We also looked at employee retention, economic changes, and the projects that we have going on. The new enterprise funds that we have that are coming
Victor,
on.
Can you speak a little bit more on the mic?
The new enterprise funds that we have are the ambulance fund that we set up for, and the GRT tax that's going to take effect on January 1st. The ambulance fund is a new de novo ambulance enterprise for us. We looked at the numbers many different ways, and we tried to estimate our revenues to be conservative with the ambulance, and then we tried to estimate our expenses to be on the higher end because we weren't sure what it would be, and then we'll keep monitoring the situation and then do a budget review of all the line items mid-year. But in terms of what we expect for the ambulance service between revenues, we expect about 1.3 million in revenues if we meet our budget targets, and we expect expenses of about 1.4 million. So the transfer in from the general fund is about $90,000 that we would expect for it to kick in. And also keep in mind that this doesn't include the tax, the new tax that was passed, so that'll be something separate. And embedded in these expenses is our match for a new ambulance for about $275,000. But even with that $90,000 transfer, it's still cheaper than what we were paying that private entity for the years before. We were paying a private company $120,000. So this, as long as we meet these targets, we don't know, this is going to be our best guess and move forward. But our team has been working really hard on it. The second enterprise fund is our GRT that was passed for the EMS and pipes infrastructure. That'll take effect on January 1st for the benefit of the EMS and the pipes. It's not included in these budget projections as I need to do more of an analysis to predict the revenue, and then we'll make an adjustment mid-year when it takes effect. And then the other issue, the biggest issue that we looked at was employee retention. How do we take care of the City of Grant's team? How do we keep employees? How do we make this one of the better places to work? And one of our biggest issues we looked at was salary increases, health and medical premiums, and then a new disability plan that we have. So for embedded in this budget, within the personnel budget, is a 3% raise for all city employees. There are no additions to the staff, but we're not eliminating any staff either, so our personnel count will probably remain about the same. Our biggest benefit with our health and medical premium is that the city pays 90% of the employees' cost for the insurance, including their families. That's a huge benefit. But it's also a very costly benefit that costs the city about $1.3 million a year. Our retirement that the city pays for retirement for all city employees is about $900,000. So our insurance is a substantial expense. In this budget, we were able to retain that without any changes that would adversely affect anybody on our team. And then in the last council meeting, council approved our new disability plans that we're offering to all employees, that they're 100% paid for by the city. So we have a short-term and long-term plan for all employees. The best part about the long-term plan is that it stays in effect till the employee hits retirement age, Social Security age. So it's a really good plan that we have, or that we got into. And then we also looked at the economic changes that we think are going to come up this fiscal year. One is, how do we predict our gross receipts tax revenues? Are we anticipating growth? I don't see any growth, very much growth. The growth that I predicted is really based on our actuals, but I didn't predict that we would go up 3 or 5% based on trends, because a lot of the GRT that we're receiving, when you look back historically over the last few years, there was a lot of money that was injected by the government into the area. We have personal people that have personal stipends that they receive. And then we have the infrastructure projects that were going on here. So we collected quite a bit of tax. So we've been seeing kind of things kind of level off there. So in this year's budget, we tried to be a little bit more conservative to barely moderate. Another concern that we're looking at is our interest rates. The Fed talked about possibly lowering rates later this year, which is good for people, but you know, we make interest on some of our investments. We have investments with the local government investment pool with the state treasurer's office. We earned, our average yield on that was about 5% for the whole year. So the total amount of interest that we earned for fiscal year '24 was about $217,000. And so that we have about $4 million sitting in that fund. And then other issues that will take into effect is our election. That always plays a part of the world economy, so that'll be coming up. Some of our project highlights for this year, we're going to complete our existing projects. We have the USDA project going on. We have the arena that's going on. We have new projects that are to come. The city was awarded $1.1 million for a new ladder truck. We expect the match to be about $300,000. Once we receive a grant agreement and we know what the true match will be, I'll bring it back to council at that point and do an adjustment for that. Chief Mays also received $150,000 for a new ambulance. The city match, we estimate about $275,000. So I have that embedded in the FY25 budget. We have $75,000 for recreation center improvements, $100,000 for domestic violence center construction, $200,000 for domestic violence services, and we continue to invest in new equipment and infrastructure. So one of our biggest priorities for this fiscal year's budget was building up our infrastructure, because our team needs the best to be able to do what the city requests them to do. So I put some pictures together of all the new assets that we acquired over the last fiscal year. To the left is the semi and lowboy trailer that was purchased. That was about a $400,000 investment. To the right, that's a new tilt trailer that was posted, and these are all for public works. So that's streets, parks, and maintenance. There's some new tractors and a wing mower that they received for the Parks Department. Then the left is our fencing that we received across to secure the Fire and Ice Park. I think the one on the right is the baby box that's going to be constructed this year. And then this is the EMS equipment that was received. We have the new Zoll monitor, and I don't know what the others are, but there's their other equipment that's there. The SCBA's that they purchased, and then that cage on the right is the medicine cage for our EMS services, and that was a big investment that we had to make. But I think the biggest investment that the people of the city of Grants made is the greatest asset we have is our team. That's who each of us, who we report to. They're the ones who make the city great, who make it the cleanest, safest city. You know, we have our crews working hard on everything. And, you know, the other big investment was for our fire department. All that gear that they're wearing was $200,000 in new gear that'll help keep them safe when they're trying to keep us safe. So that's really everything that I have on the budget so far. In terms of what we expect our overall revenues to be, within the general fund, we expect about $11.3 million in revenue, $10.4 million in expenses. So we're doing pretty good there. We expect transfers out of about $1.1 million from the general fund. We have $250,000 going for the care of inmates. The county's working on back billing us for some billing that wasn't billed during COVID, so we had to budget for 2 years worth of inmate care. And then we budget for about over $1 million for debt service payments for the city's debt, and about $300,000 to the Senior Citizen Center, and about $367,000 would go to the golf course. The cemetery transferring is only $11,000. Historically, it's been more, but we don't have an employee assigned to that area. It's being filled by a contractor right now, so that saved us some money. But if there are any questions, I'll stand for questions, or if anybody in the public has questions.
Does anybody from the public has any questions on the city's budget this year? Mike Childs, that's it? Just kidding. Just kidding, buddy. Thank you, Victor. Comments from the counselor? Counselor Garcia?
Yeah, thank you for that. I know you worked hard on it, and I know you started earlier. We wanted to have it done, but issues came up where it couldn't be done by June. Is that still our goal next year, to not
God
be
willing,
behind?
I take full responsibility for that. I was out on medical leave in March. That derailed everything. So next year, we plan to get started in February and then have a whole timeline of events to meet with the department heads and give them more time so that we're not trying to cram everyone in one day.
No, and that's understandable. I know you were still working when you were out, when you probably shouldn't have been. But with now we got a new addition, procurement officer in there. Will that help in case that would happen again?
Yes, so this made me think of succession and how important it is for our key positions. My position's one of them, so if I can't be here for whatever reason, unexpected reason, then someone needs to step in and take over for me. And with the addition of Gloria and her experience, I'm confident that she'll be able to step in if I'm not here.
When you talked about the EMS fund, you said revenue. What is the revenue? Is it strictly ambulatory service or what?
It's a mix of billing insurance when we transport patients to the hospitals, and then we're also looking at what's the IFT acronym?
Interfacility transfers.
Interfacility
okay.
transfers, where the hospitals, the local area needs help with that. So we're also looking at potentially picking up some of those contracts also.
And those health and medical premiums, that's only while they're employed, correct?
Correct.
That's not, doesn't carry on to retirement.
Right.
Now, you mentioned the disability is that if they're employed?
Only if they're employed. If they cease employment, then the policy will cease at that point.
Okay. There was another thing I saw on the breakdown. I didn't get, the Rio San Jose. I saw you had budgeted for it, and there was like an ending, and you still budgeted the large amount again.
Last year, or last fiscal year, there was the approval for a robot. The Rio San Jose contributed like $80,000 and we did the rest. That robot hasn't been delivered and paid for yet, so we have to keep rolling it over until we get the product delivered.
So that's how it works in the budget. Items that weren't done by June 30th, you can roll everything over, or it depends on the item or the service?
It depends. So Gloria looks at all the POs very thoroughly to see what's still open. And so she goes through them, through them with all the department heads and asks if they're ready to be closed. If there's some equipment that we couldn't receive, then she'll let me know, and I include it in the next fiscal budget and go in and make the change to include it.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you for the work you do, Victor, you and your department.
Thank you. Counselor Rodarte?
I just want to say thank you, Victor. That session we had was very informative, and it's starting to look more or less and less Greek to me, and I'm starting to understand it a little bit more. Thank you very much for that. That's all I have, sir.
Counselor Michael?
Okay, here we go. Mental Health Council, there's, let me make sure where I'm at here. They're showing 0 across on that.
For the expenses and the
Am I
income?
seeing it right?
Yes, you are, because when I finalized the budget draft, we didn't have the award letter from Ms. Jaramillo yet. She sent that over to us. So we know how much we're going to get for this year, and then I believe she's looking for a successor because she is wanting to fully retire. So at that point, I guess and I don't know if Andrew can speak more to this, but they don't know if they're going to go more contract like her or open it up as an employee paid position. So that's why I didn't budget any expenses, because we weren't sure. And then once that decision's made, I'll bring it to council on the next budget
And
adjustment.
we'd adjust it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because it was, I know it was over 150 she had talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and in the last meeting, their meeting that I attended, there was like another $80,000 or something.
So I'll get with her.
And it would benefit us,
That
'cause-
agreement just came in, yeah.
yeah, and I'll ask maybe Fire and Rescue to speak a little bit more to, like, our needs in that arena later, so thank you. There was one more thing. EMS is the estimated projected revenues, again, are going to be based on insurance reimbursements for transports, and then you said transfers like maybe from grants to Albuquerque or something like that, that might need to be done, that's emergent, that.
Correct. So what
that
we
we will
did
get.
in terms of forecasting those revenues, because it was hard because we don't know exactly how, we've never done this. So this is something new that we're getting into. We've had help from other agencies. Chief Mays has done a great job reaching out and making contacts with people. And one of them was a billing company that we're looking at to go in, a third-party billing company. And they took data from other like communities in New Mexico, and we used that. And then we took, because I think his estimated return was about 60%,
Yeah, 65%.
and we brought it down to 30% because we wanted to be more conservative on what we expect to collect on there. And then with the hospitals shared some information with Chief Mays also, and they do about 60 transports a month, and I'll let him speak more to that, but we estimated about 20, that we could probably take on 20 to 30, so we didn't want to, because truthfully, we can't take on all of them, so we tried to come up with conservative numbers that we think are obtainable.
Okay. And then on the GRT, you may have already said this, but what is it projected for 2025? Do you have just the increase we did, what that's projected to bring?
I do, but I didn't bring it. So I didn't do one for the new tax, but I have it for the existing taxes. The new tax, I'll work on that some more, and then I'll bring that to council mid-year.
So we'll know kind of where it's at and what it's bringing in.
Yeah.
Okay. I think when we did the proposal, you had an estimate in that proposal, perhaps?
For the new
An
tax?
estimate of what the new
I-
0125 would bring?
I haven't done that one yet. I need to do some more work with tax and
I
rev
think
on
the
that.
information that you're thinking about was based on that amount, based on what it was familiar with another one that wasn't that amount was about 400,000 a year.
Okay.
Oh, the street tax.
Yeah,
Right.
street tax.
So that was our means of comparison, that what we talked about was, with the street tax, we collect about 0.25%, so we figured half of that, and that's where I came up with the 400. So yes, I did come up with that, I'm sorry.
Other things constituent related are, of course, roads, and are we gonna have some paving going on this year? The new equipment's beautiful, that's a lot of investment, and
Right.
I'm hopeful.
Yeah, we have
So-
projected some streets to pave that don't need infrastructure. And then once we get ones that have infrastructure done, we'll end up paving those.
Okay. Then I think that they're part of what we're looking at tonight is gonna be related to the new capital outlay funding. There's the 5 to 7 million.
Yes.
Yes.
That agreement.
So,
yes.
and we've spent the previous years. We did good on that.
Right.
So,
And we're
Thank
still
you.
pending some reimbursements, so
Yes.
we'll see that, but they've been coming in, so it's been good. Cash is looking better now, so,
very good. Thank you. Very good job.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
thank you.
No more questions?
Councilor Gutierrez.
Yeah, my question is kind of related to the GRT and how much it would affect, but it's still kind of early, so I was just kind of thinking of how much it'll help us being in our, how would I say, conservatively aggressive? You know, because I just looking at the budget, explaining of how you guys work numbers, it was not being all the way conservative, it was still trying to get the best you can for what we can. And mine just kind of was, I was just thinking as Councilman Michaels was talking about our projection of the GRT, but I'm kind of like internalizing, we don't really know how much it's going to help us next year just because, you know, it's a little far out, and to see this all, it's going to take till like next year this time,
Right.
or even further, to see, you know, the full amount per year. I mean, it's more than nothing. I'm grateful for it, but even more so, the behind the scenes of what you guys do. I wish people could see what it takes to put into it. You know, I've seen a glimpse of it, and it's you guys, what you do. Like, it has to work as a team, because it's, you know, getting the information out, seeing what crunching numbers, transferring this. It's a real time job, and just seeing what you guys have done so far, like, you know, as a team, it's exciting to see new equipment. Like you said, if you want to be the best, you got to get the best, and that's where we're at. I see a lot of that happening at both chiefs. You know, they're making sure their budgets are tight and right, and going after grants, and then utilizing you guys for the best we can. And it's exciting to see where we're going. You know, what's happened. You know, in the past, we're learning from mistakes, and we're on an uphill kind of game. So, again, thank you guys very much. It's pretty cool to see.
Thank you. Victor and your team, I appreciate you guys' work, what you've done to this budget. I think this is the fourth one I've done, and I mean, it's learning stuff more and more every year, and when you guys explain it, it's starting to make sense, because we're starting to see the payback of it, of getting more equipment, keeping our insurance to probably the best one in the city, to make the city the best team and the best place to work. It's huge. I mean, it makes it where it sets the pace and the morale, and we're going to get better every single day. We have the talent behind Andrew. It's amazing. We're getting there. I want to thank the council for passing the tax. It is going to help us in the short term, the long term, and for the future. It also helps us budget for those things that normally we probably, it gets kind of pushed off, you know. That's where we keep slipping. So money well spent to the taxpayers that are putting into this, because it's everybody that's putting into this. Growth is, the GRT is based on a lot by the building. So as we continue to build in the city of Dallas, all our infrastructure that we're building, it's going to help our GRT. The state's going to notice that, you know, we're going to start to see the benefits of putting all this infrastructure into our community. On the budget, I know it's little things, right? Because it takes, we think that we have $40-some million to play with, right? But we don't. So there's like one thing that I've been trying to put in the budget, and the councilors seen it, is to redo Truman Park with concrete, you know, for the kids, redo it, make it a good place, safe place for them to play, and also to bring more infrastructure in our lighting package at Patty Martinez Park. You know, that's a big game changer. It doesn't seem like it's a lot, but it will be a lot. You know, it's money well spent on those little things. The equipment is huge. I remember when I came into council 4 years ago, and I went to go tour the golf course, and they had a 1991 Bobcat. There we go. We got 3 new Bobcats in the other day, new equipment, new attachments. I mean, that's huge.
Right, and this partnership with our legislators really helped us out. So it's a partnership among all, and, you know, I don't know, I mean, as long as I've been following these city council meetings before I worked here, I haven't seen this much equipment purchased in 1 year. So I think we're building a solid investment for our town.
And the legislators, you know, thank you to them. We do go up there during the session, and we do go knock at their door, and we do try to present our ideas and our vision for our community, and they're listening. We're getting hopefully a brand new $1 million, $1.3 million ladder truck. And it took 2 years, maybe 2.5, but I mean, we're constantly knocking at the door, and they're hearing us, you know, if they didn't believe in us, we wouldn't be getting that kind of stuff.
Right.
So that's really neat. And to your quote, we are going to be the cleanest, safest city. Thank you very much. I appreciate you and your team.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I don't know if you want me to mention the most improved.
Yeah, I was gonna say the budget.
Oh, yeah,
budget
and
award.
that, go ahead and, Victor, go ahead and,
Tell us about your.
tell us about your award.
We were notified that by the New Mexico Municipal League. They have a conference coming up now in August in Clovis. And they review the audits from the Office of the State Auditor. And when the City of Grants received the most improved, because last year we went from 4 findings down to 1 finding. So we've made substantial progress. I'm hoping we can continue that this year. We're in the middle of audit right now, so I'm kind of nervous about that one. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, congratulations to you, you too.
thank you. Thank you.
That's big. 4 years ago when I got into it, we were in the deficit so bad with audit findings, and it was hard to go out for some capital money, and because it looked like we didn't have it together, you know. So it's taking some time, and your team is getting us to that next step every single day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, any more comments from the public? Okey dokey, thank you. All right, we're on 1.2, discussion act to approve a resolution 24-1862 FY 25 final budget. Comments from the councilors? Councilor Garcia,
No comments. I think it's been adequately covered.
thank you. Councilor Rodarte,
No comments. I think it's been covered.
thank you. Councilor Michael,
No comments?
thank you. Councilor Gutierrez,
No comment.
thank you. All right, can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion for the approval of resolution number 24-1862 FY 25 final budget.
Thank you, second.
I'll second.
Thank you, roll call. Councilor Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Rodarte,
Yes.
Councilor Michael,
Yes.
Councilor Gutierrez.
Yes.
Thank you. Good job, Victor. Thank you, sir. All right, we're on 1.4. Discussion action approval resolution number 24-1864 fourth quarter financial report with attachments.
So also in that same printed out packet, there's the report for the fourth quarter. And this encompasses the whole fiscal 24 year, so it'll we'll cover everything on there. But this is also the budget, and our fourth quarter report is due to the state on July 31st, so we'll get that, once I get the attestations tomorrow, we'll send that over. We're in the middle of our FY 24 audit. We've been pulling some stuff. Our auditors have been putting some samples together. Earlier this year, me, Andrew, Michelle, and the mayor, I believe, was included, met with our CPAs that we contract with and with our auditors to discuss the repeat finding that we have, which is our capital assets. I think we've come up with the plan to start to tackle it. We're going to work with some of our vendors to try and piece together one of the years that our CPAs are having a hard time, and that was in 2017. So there's not a lot of data that goes back, but we're working with some of our project vendors at that time to see if we can get a list of the projects that they did to be able to put that together so they can roll forward each year until the current fiscal year. And then once we do that, that finding should hopefully go away. It'll probably still be on there this fiscal year for the audit because it wasn't corrected by June 30th, but we have a strong plan in place to work on it. It's on our radar, and that's one of my priorities for this fiscal year coming up. Some of our highlights for the whole year are general fund. We made about $11.3 million in revenue. Our expenses were about $9.2 million. And our transfers out of the general fund says it was about $6 million over the course of the year. Overall, for the year, we did well. We hit most of our revenue projections. We did have one adverse effect, and that was the clawback from the gross receipts for that $1 million. That did hurt us, but we did well. We weathered through it. We're still going. So we did well there. in total for the fiscal year '24, our total revenues were about 30.1 million, and our total expenses are 39 million. And that looks like a lot. It is a lot. And that's because we had a lot of projects that we had to spend money on and then be reimbursed. One of it was the $5 million that we got for clean water. There was some projects going on with the USDA and with the airport. So we didn't receive a lot of those reimbursements until after July 1st. So now our cash is starting to pick back up again. So we'll record that. So when we do our first quarter in September, you'll see all those recorded on there. Other than that, that's really all that I have to cover for the quarter. I included charts for kind of how we did with the other funds, with property taxes, with the cannabis fund. The cannabis fund been doing as we've projected it to go, and there's some plans for the recreation center as those funds were intended for. So we'll be looking at that also. But other than that, if there's any questions on the fourth quarter, I stand for it.
Comments from the councilor, Councilor Garcia?
So our budget was able to kind of absorb that big drop in GRT that we experienced. We didn't see no negative effects that you noticed from that?
No, I mean, other than our deposit that month was really low that
Right.
month, I mean. But we budgeted conservatively with the GRT that it didn't cause as much damage that we did. I mean, that's basically 1 month of our operating revenue for the city of Grants. It could have hit us very hard, but we budgeted, we were very careful. None of this adversely affected any of the departments. We didn't have to cut anything mid-year in the middle, in the active year to adjust for that. So that was what my original concern was, but we weathered it well and we handled it.
And the other thing I noticed is there was a push from both you and the city manager to spend our, the law enforcement retention fund, that funding that we know we have compared to the GRT. I know there was kind of a switch on trying to get that money spent first as a priority.
Yes, the law enforcement retention fund and the fire protection monies, we want to have them use them first so they're not caught or having to deal with that at the end of the year and trying to spend it because you can't give it back. So it's a change on that.
You know, we talked about the streets, where we allocated money, and it's in the budget. I know not here, but in your notes, you showed us, well, we want to pay. We did that last year, and I don't think any of those streets got paved. We had the flood and everything else and equipment. But is the Public Works, if you have it in the budget, these are the streets we want to pave, is it their discretion, okay, I could start paving these streets, or do they got to wait to come to council? Because I know there's a window of opportunity that they need to pave in, and if they've got to wait a month before they can come in, does the Public Works Director have that discretion? Okay, they said pave these three, boom, 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 we're going to do it.
Unfortunately, because of the expenditure of it, you'll have to come back to council because it is over a certain amount of money.
Right, but it's already been approved, hasn't it?
The budget's been approved, not the spending of it.
Not the spending for that particular item,
Yes.
so then it could roll over to other budget items if we did that. Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Councilor Rodarte?
No questions.
Thank you. Councilor Michael?
So you're talking about this document here, fourth quarter?
Yes, ma'am.
So there's a few items that you have your beginning cash balance per the pooled cash report, and some of them have zero balance. So can you kind of just explain that a little bit? There's, especially like our enterprise fund, water, trash, sewer, starts with a zero balance.
This is where I've mentioned in other reports that we have to do some work with our vendor on our pooled cash reporting because the report that generates the mapping isn't correct on some of these funds. So the report, so what it predicts in terms, or what it projects for the water, sewer, and trash isn't correct. So I start that as zero, but then on the second to the last column is the balance in the actual cash balance in that account. So I do incorporate it in there, but not as beginning cash because it's not part of that pooled cash report.
Say again where it is at?
On
Where-
the second to the last column,
The
where it's
second
the
to the last.
2.7 million and the 363,000. I'm sorry, 3.2 million, or 2.3 million, second to the
There
last
we go.
column. So
Okay,
those are.
got it. Do you, I mean, we have some planning and solution for getting our pool cash report more accurate or getting a different, what if it needs software or? You said
We'll have an
vendor or
analyst
something.
with our vendor they're the subject matter expert for that area.
Uh-huh.
That will go in and kind of look at how it's architect and see what's not connected properly. And then once we do that, we should be able to get it fixed. And I know we can get it fixed because the other entities had these same issues. And the one that was able to get it fixed and corrected was Candy at the Village. And she kind of explained to me the process that she took. So it's the same approach that we'll take to get it fixed. And what that does is, once anyone in the public wants an on-demand pooled cash report, I can generate it at that point, and it should be accurate to that point.
Okay,
And right now, I don't stand behind it, so that's why we do the recap.
okay. And hopefully we'll get that soon. Thank you. No more questions?
Thank you. Councilor Gutierrez?
I guess two things. One of the biggest ones is how you guys have cushioned and your conservative outlook on the budget was of not letting that GRT take a swipe at us. Like in any other circumstances, I would think in the past years, it would have really hurt us. You know what I mean? But how you guys have done those things has really put us in a good spot. The other part is, and it's kind of a sore spot, is, you know, I'm going to bring it up too, is some entities and some kind of places are really withdrawing as well. You know what I mean? Like one being the golf course. You know, so those are things that I know a lot of people are, those are some of the biggest kind of, the greatest volume of things I get is the golf course. And understanding of how well that you guys have budgeted and how much that's taken from the general operation, it's kind of scary. Like, I think those are one of those things that's kind of needs to get looked at, of either finding a way to not take such big hits each year because it gets bigger and bigger, or planning of something else, because I know some people's solutions are just like, oh, you need to do this and this, spend more money. And, you know, if it's in the right direction, then absolutely. If it's going to bring down the total cost and stuff, but there's got to be more of a map to follow in this one, because this one's a big deal. Like that GRT hike was, or that GRT hit was huge, but there's something that's on here that's a continuous hit, and it's not a simple fix. But I think it's something that needs to be looked at even more. Of it's something that's draining, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't want to see something like that go away. But at the same time, it's like, how do we fix it so we're not taking such a punch in the gut each year? And, you know, that's my biggest draw to our budgets and stuff, is how do we keep positive revenue? You know what I mean? Everything else seems like we're doing it, our venture into the new EMS and that kind of thing. I really think that's going to do well for us, and it gives back to our own community. How could we make this thing, which is a outdoor recreation, something where there's got to be some type of money for it. There's got to be some type of mentorship, or there's got to be something that, you know, other people do in similar areas that, you know, they can make money off of it instead of, you know, just drawing from our cash flow. So that's just kind of where, you know, that's been on my mind of how do we eliminate those kind of deficits,
And
and
it-
people understand.
In our budget meetings, Andrew, Michelle, and I have discussed that, and Andrew, you know, brought that up, and he is exploring some ideas, ways to generate revenue, how to get more people there, so that enterprise does become self-sustaining. Hopefully, I don't think it's ever been, so as we can accomplish that in our tenure, that would be great. I mean, I suggested an Arby's, but whatever we get, I'll take.
And that's the thing, I bring that up because people want to know, and it's transparency. But even I bring that up too is because you guys have solved a lot of problems. You know what I mean? And you guys make things work where it needs to work, and you put the right people in the right positions, you budget things. And I just, to hear, we have an idea that makes myself and probably others a little more like, whew, it's not being overlooked, because some people think it's just on the back burner. But, there's a lot of things, like, I asked someone once, it's like, well, would you rather have, roads and sewers and infrastructure? And they're like, well, if we make more money from the golf course, we could have more money. And I'm like, so there's a double side to it, but at the same time, it's, where's our focus? It's, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate you guys. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll motion for approval of resolution number, it's increased here, 24-1863, fourth quarter financial report with attachment.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second. Third.
Thank you. Roll call. Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Ugarte,
Yes.
Counselor Michael,
Yes.
Counselor Gutierrez.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay, we're on 1.15, discussion action approval of June 26, 2024 emergency meeting minutes.
Mayor, council. So before the meeting, Counselor Michael let me know,
So you
yes,
clarified it
of
to
some
me
of
in
the
writing,
issues, and I
so
just
thank
wanted
you.
to let you know I did make a new draft and put it in front of you all, just to let you